Broadcasting live to Bills Mafia worldwide with Greg Tompsett and Aaron Quinn.
Welcome to the NFL.
Doesn't matter what's happened before today. Today's a brand new day. It's a brand new season.
Your number one podcast for objective Buffalo Bills coverage. No matter where you are, we got you covered.
Good evening and welcome to the Cover One Buffalo podcast. You were joining your host Greg Tompsett along with my partners in crime Anthony Prohaska and Aaron Quinn. Aaron, how we doing?
Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Woo! Thanksgiving dubs.
Before we start, I hope you guys and everybody out there in Bills Mafia had wonderful Thanksgiving with their families, and then the Bills and the Bills Mafia family made it even better. And now we're having a better Thanksgiving than we were going into this game. So congratulations to everybody.
Victory, Uncle Jumbo's bobsicle.
Yeah. We love turkey legs in Buffalo. The national media's got to learn that. You know. With that said, I don't want any more Thanksgiving games.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good with them. It's fun to see Josh eat those turkey legs, but I'm good.
Anthony, how does it feel? You were out of town today for Thanksgiving. You're visiting us from a hotel room.
I am. I am exhausted. I've been up since 2 a.m. I mean, I'm not fighting through another flu game like you are, Greg, but I'm quite waxed and wiped. But I feel good. We got a nice win. We saw some adjustments. I am filled with turkey and stuffing and mashed potatoes and all kinds of desserts. And I'm also filled with happiness and joy. And I think that's a really nice way to start a post-game show and then go to bed.
That's fair.
I think it makes total sense. And you guys are joining us tonight because the Buffalo Bills have defeated the New Orleans Saints 31-6 on Thanksgiving night prime time. It wasn't a perfect game by any means, but it was a very dominant defensive performance. We'll talk about it. And obviously putting up 31 points, still a perfectly fine offensive performance. There is a cloud hanging over the game right now. We do not know the status of all-pro lockdown cornerback Tre'Davious White. We will await updates on that and find out more. But
yeah, you won't get
Aaron,
speculation.
what are your initial thoughts?
You won't get speculation, I don't think, from either of us or any of us on this show. I've got to say, guys, it's frustrating. I get why people were frustrated and upset and worried. I'm also worried, but I'm going to wait on the news. That's all we can do with these injuries. The Bills have been very lucky over the last year and a half to not really face any devastating injuries to key players. And that's great. That eventually is going to run up. I don't know if it's going to run up with Trey, but eventually that's going to run up and they are going to lose a guy that's a key piece to this team. But in the moment of this game, felt like Bills Mafia really was not enjoying what was unfolding in front of us and enjoying the game for what it was. My mentions, my timeline was just full of anytime I put out, hey, this was a good play, and people would just be crying emojis like, yeah, but Trey. And it's like, I get it, guys, but you got to get through this game. And we might not know. I mean, he's a bigger name player, like Banged Up Bill said. We might find out a tweet from an inside source here soon, but we might not find out anything for a couple of days. So all we can do is hope for the best. Hope it's not as bad as it looked. And like the Pro Football Doc tweeted out some of the speculation of what it could potentially be. Sure. Hope for the best. And if it's not, I don't know that the season's necessarily a wrap. Teams overcome devastating injuries to players. It's not great. But that's what the old saying is, next man up.
Yeah, again, we're not going to harp on it. We're going to talk about the rest of the game. No matter what happens, we hope that he's back. We hope it's not as severe as it looks. We don't know what the results were of the test they performed on the field. He did get up and walk off. He was emotional and upset. We don't know what that means. No matter what, if he's out, they can't replace him, but they're still going to play the rest of these games, and they still have to get ready for that either way. So, Anthony, obviously removing that concern from here, let's focus on the game. What were some of your initial takeaways from what was kind of an early slog that got rolling as the game went along?
I loved how they came out and initially attacked. Their first 12 plays, 9 of them were rushes, 3 of them were passes. The passes that they used were off of play action and RPO. They implemented a significant amount in that opening stretch there of scripted plays, I'm going to say, of what the Philadelphia Eagles did last week to the New Orleans Saints. They outgapped them by running option. They stretched them on the perimeter. They used Josh Allen in the run game. The Saints, as Aaron had mentioned on Twitter, they're a really good rush defense. Number one in terms of run DVOA. They've only given the third. They have the third least amount of rushing yards given up per game. And I know they're banged up front, but so are the Bills. And to see the Bills come out and attack them with a varied running game in terms of Breida, Singletary, and Josh Allen, I thought it was a great immediate turnaround from Dable and the coaching staff. Same thing on the defensive side, to see the gap integrity that they were operating with defensively. We saw a lot of talk from Bills fans about adjustments. And how come we're not adjusting to this? And how come we're not fixing this? And what's going on? It seems like we're just doing the same thing. What's happening? And when you dive into the film recently, like the Colts game, for example, like they got gouged in the run, but they did try adjustments. Their adjustments just didn't work. And the Colts were so many steps ahead of us. Kudos to them. I thought what was great about this game was it was like the Bills just all Dable and Frazier did were stay up on social media and watch podcasts and read Twitter and just say, okay, they want us to make adjustments. Boom, let's make a game that is so adjustment filled and reactionary that people will take notice of the adjustments we made. And they worked in tandem with a lot of other things that went successful tonight. So my big takeaway is just the scheme adjustment and how the Bills attack the Saints defensively and offensively. And again, on a short week, that's like a really impressive thing to quickly turn around and gather yourself and then pinpoint a weakness and attack it on both sides of the ball. So really nice response from the coaching staff. And then obviously execution from the players on the field that really drove this handed win.
Yeah, I was excited, and I think as we start to dive into the details here, obviously, Josh Allen, fantastic game, and I think that, there were some questionable things early on, some frustrating elements, ultimately ended up being 23 of 28 for 260 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and one piece here from Next Gen Stats, showing, Josh Allen dominated the Saints blitzes, completing all 6 of his passes for 97 yards and 2 touchdowns without being pressured once. So none of the blitzes got home when the Saints tried to blitz him. Allen's completed 13% plus of his passes over the expectation. So something that you don't really expect that high, his third highest in his career. Our man Anthony Rampalo here, really generous
Thank
of
you.
you. It's Anthony's birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy
Nice
birthday,
win
great name.
as a present. Fantastic name, obviously.
Yes,
You wear it better than Anthony, but
Also, every single one of Bass's kickoffs were perfect. Yeah, drop them exactly there. We'll get into that in the special teams. Really strong special teams game tonight. But Anthony, what were your thoughts about Josh Allen's game tonight?
Good. It was disappointing to see the interceptions that happened. And I think the first one, the Roby one, was a little bit, first of all, Drew Brees was fantastic in his analysis of the game and just really adding insight. And I thought he nailed it right on the head with the miscommunication. Josh is thinking Diggs is coming inside. Diggs pops it outside. We get a miscommunication. We get an interception. The second one was also a little troubling. He had Manny Sands open in the middle of the field early and decently late as well. Still waiting, looking to the other side of the field, gets hit, interception. But again, he threw
some linebacker movement, I think,
fair.
Scared him away.
Yeah.
And it made him hesitate.
Very fair. But again, so he threw 2 picks. Those are 2 of his 5 incompletions on the night because he went 23 of 28. He was effective on the ground. I thought he made some good reads. I loved that the Bills, again, implemented several pieces from that Eagles game, allowing him to run some option offense, going with those nub formations with trips to one side and then the tight end to give a true run on that side and attacking, much like the Eagles did, and Allen executed. He had a couple nice scrambles and athletic plays where he set up blocks and he made defenders miss. I thought it was a really well done game from Josh overall. The interceptions are a bit disconcerting and it sucks that those marks are there, but an overall quality game from him, nice response. And I thought it was a game where the Bills could succeed. The Saints came into this game running man coverage on 41% of their snaps. I did not think that would be able to last against the Bills. And whenever they went man, the Bills got it. Diggs got open. We saw Cole Beasley look a little healthier tonight. We saw some nice throws to Gabriel Davis. I thought Josh orchestrated the offense well. And Overall had a really strong game and a nice response. Again, on a short week, prime time, in a game the Bills had to have. Really nice answer from Josh.
Yeah, for what I took away from this too is, from the fan aspect, the first half, people after those 2 interceptions, people were like, we have a QB problem. Or has he fully regressed? Like, this is not the same as last year, and none of that's true.
What's
it's not
going on?
Yeah, it's not as pretty as last year, and it's not as fun to watch at times. But he just passed. It was the third Bills QB to pass for 3 straight 3,000-yard seasons, and we're only at Thanksgiving. Like, he's still on pace for a great season here.
4 touchdowns tonight.
4 touchdowns, 82% completion percentage. Like, the dude was a dominant football player on the field today. Earned the turkey leg that he was able to eat again here on Thanksgiving. So a nice game from Josh. Yeah, you don't want those interceptions. But this is football, guys. Like, turnovers do happen. I don't know that either one of those interceptions were just outright terrible plays, right? Like, you can not that
they showed the miscommunication on the one with him and Diggs, where he thought Diggs was going to cut in, Diggs cut out. That's, maybe that's on Josh, but that was a miscommunication, not some horrible decision.
Terrible throw into double coverage. He thought something else was happening, and that's going to happen in split second decisions in the NFL. So I can live with some of that. Obviously, I hate to see the double dip get burnt at the end with that turnover, but again, his arm gets hit, even though he hesitated and held on the ball a little longer than you want. I don't know what happens if his arm doesn't get hit on that. And people that were frustrated with that first half, offense was moving the ball. You hit on it, and like, they were moving the ball up and down the field. They're really doing what they wanted to the Saints. And I think we have to pump the brakes on ourselves a little bit and realize, like, in the NFL, in the first half, they scored 10 points. They probably should have at least had 13 if they don't turn the ball over in that situation. The NFL average in first half points is like 11.9. It's not like teams aren't coming out and dropping 20-something points in the first half. So I think us as Bills fans, we're wanting perfection and scores on every drive, and I get it. We want to be what the Chiefs have been in the past, but it's just not how the NFL works, and most teams aren't dominating with 17-point halves all the time. It just isn't that way.
Tonight, the Buffalo Bills scored in every single quarter. They scored 4 touchdowns. They scored 31 points. This was a good, like, by every standard, 31 points is a good offensive performance. They gave up 6 points. Some people's expectation is, in the moment, if every single drive isn't a touchdown and every single defensive drive isn't a turnover or a 3 and out, something's wrong. Like, then you have to explain, why didn't that happen? Why didn't they score a touchdown on that drive? Well, no team scores a touchdown on every drive. Like, it's going to happen. Literally, what one guy was saying, that was so disappointing of a defensive drive. It was in the fourth quarter, and they'd given up 100 total yards. Like, a group of professionals had 2 nice shot plays. They got Marquez Callaway down on the honey hole on the one, and then Trevor Siemian scrambled, and they got Lil Jordan Humphrey in an empty spot in the zone for 2 nice chunk plays. A group of professionals put together 1 scoring drive in a game. Congratulations. Like, good job. They're pro football players. That's how it's supposed to work. We need to recalibrate sometimes here. As we move into,
your camera needs
my gesticulation throws it off sometimes. I was a little confused, as we move into the running game here, to find that it was only 3.5 yards a carry, and that Matt Breida ended up with only 9 carries for 26 yards. I felt like he was a little bit more
some of that at the end, I think, it hurt the averages towards the end of this game.
It definitely did. And he ended up total with 11 touches for 55 yards, which is, obviously a little bit better. Devin Singletary ended up having a couple nice runs later on. I thought that overall, I got a chance to go on Sportsnet before the game and talk a little bit there. And I said that, I don't want us to run the ball more. I want us to be more effective. I thought they did that tonight. They had a couple nice chunk plays. They kept him honest. They ran the quarterback power with Josh Allen when it mattered. They were able to get Matt Breida out in space. Devin Singletary created 2 nice runs, had a nice 15-yarder and an 11-yarder. They got Breida out in a screen. I was happy with the run game. What did you guys think? Anything outside of what we saw there? This is what I want. I want it to be effective enough to keep it honest, and then it could be a 4-minute drill if we need it.
Yeah, and we saw a little bit of you saw that screen that led to a touchdown. Breida out on a slant, so there's some extension of the run game with some quick timing passing throws as well. These are all things that we've talked about. We wanted, to your point, Greg. We don't need more. We need creative ways to get the ball in these guys' hands, extend the run game. But when they needed it the most, the run game showed up. Even Devin Singletary had a couple nice hard runs in this game, and really you saw him making a point to hold on to the ball at the end of some of those runs. So learning from the mistakes, and kind of to pull back a little bit, Sean McDermott put a lot of people on blast with his actives in this game. Seeing obviously Isaiah McKenzie head to the bench. Zach Moss head to the bench, and Vernon Butler. I think the team and the guys maybe ahead of him, your Devin Singletaries and some of these other guys on the team, really got that message as well. Like the time for playing around's over. We're heading into December. We need to be playing our best ball now. And I think that's really hitting the running back room probably the most.
Yeah, the RBs, they looked good. I like how they functioned and rotated between both. Singletary got the hot hand a little bit more at the end, and they started to grind out with him. But Breida looked effective, had another on that touchdown, that screen, another nice job of setting up his blocks and using his speed. Using the blockers out in space to set up blocks is something he continues to show he has an affinity for. That's a big thing when you have an offensive line that struggles at times and struggles to get hat on a hat and be effective in one-on-one situations. Breida is doing things to help that offensive line with his speed and his ability to set up blocks there, and his ability to get to the edge and use that speed and set up blocks allows the Bills to attack defenses in multiple forms and varied forms in ways that they weren't able to with Singletary and Moss. Yeah. And now you've got Motor, who they're banging inside. He's starting to show a little bit of power. He's making guys miss in phone booths. Really, the raw stats are a little, I think, misleading for this, but they were effective. 1,000% on that Breida touchdown. Mm-hmm. His adjustment pre-snap was spot on, and the way he put the ball on Breida, the way the offensive line got out in space, to see the guys out there leading, really, really effective job from them, and I think really highlighted the effectiveness of the weaponry as a whole. And Aaron, I know you're about to go into wide receivers and tight ends, and they had a pretty effective night as well.
Yeah, no, I loved what we saw at his wide receiver tight end room tonight. We saw people have been talking about the feed Stephon Diggs. We saw it 9 targets, 7 receptions, 74 yards. And people go back and watch that touchdown that Diggs had. The dancing and the footwork that this guy does, it was like watching an episode of Dancing with the Stars out there on the cornerback. It's just turning people around. Like, this is something.
Made Lattimore a pretzel on the one.
A really good corner. A
really good corner. And this is something I went on the Bruce exclusive show, and we talked about some of our pet peeves in football. And he was talking about needing size in the red zone and fade routes in the red zone. And I was right there with him. Like, separation in the red zone is what I want, especially with a QB like Josh, who, has been known for some inaccuracies. Having that type of separation, be able to create that in the red zone is much better and more important to me than size. And you saw that on display with Diggs there. Gabe Davis, guys, like, I do think he's earning more playing time right now. I still love Manny Sands, but I do think Gabe Davis is earning it. He's a toxic differential machine. You guys know I track toxic differential all the time.
You track toxic differential?
Once in a while, a couple weeks out of the year. But every time,
got it from Chris Brown.
I wasn't even going to go there.
Come on. Every time this guy gets on the field, though, he's getting 20-yard or more plays. He got 2 of them tonight. He's always getting explosives. I think this guy's earning more time. And when we go back and watch this film, you're going to see some nice work in the blocking, him as a blocking wide receiver as well, which is a very underrated facet of the wide receiver game, which some of these guys struggle with, right? We still didn't see a lot from Cole Beasley. Yeah, Jeffrey Danger here coming in and telling us good blocking from Davis as well.
Easily the best blocking receiver.
Yeah, and it's
not that our other guys aren't willing. He's just willing and big enough to
and
do
better.
It. Yes.
Yeah. Still not a lot of Cole Beasley, which I was talking about, this week, wanted to get him more involved in this offense. I don't know. I know he was a full participant at the end of the week.
We'll talk in the preview next week. I really hope this 11 days off benefits him as much as anybody.
Yes, because I do think we need to get him going more in this offense, because I really think he helps it move. But really what I want to talk about last before I kick it over to you guys, Dawson Knox, guys. Like he had those drops last week, and I'm gonna chalk some of it up to the weather, and some of the balls that Allen put on him weren't great, and I was frustrated with those drops too. But he came right back with another really nice performance here this week.
I saw him score 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I saw him.
There's 2 in the box score. I watched 3 of them.
You can never tell me. You can never tell me I didn't see it. But 3 targets, 3 catches, 2 touchdowns. I saw some stats somewhere. I didn't see it officially from the Bills that he's now passed the touchdowns in a season by a Bills tight end.
Yeah, longest, most touchdowns by a tight end in franchise history.
Yeah. So I didn't make tea tonight, but I will sip out of my Paw Patrol cup and
classic
and take my Dawson Knox tight end 1 victory lap for you guys a little bit. I'm ready to officially slam dunk and spike the ball on my Dawson Knox's tight end 1. So I'll kick it over to you, Ant. What did you see from this group while I sip my victory tea?
I love that you highlighted, to piggyback on that Diggs point. I feel like a lot of people think separation comes from either strength or speed, but a really good way to get separation is route running ability. And Stephon Diggs is arguably the best route runner in all of football. There's a lot of guys up there, and he's in that Rolodex of guys that are just top-notch when it comes to their route running, and that's a huge piece. The Gabriel Davis piece is huge too. So getting more Gabriel Davis allows for more versatility in the offense because he's such an effective blocker, especially on those cracks. He can legitimately tie up defensive ends, edge rushers, linebackers, safeties. He's good at it. So that's effective in the run game. But it's also effective in that play action game, like we saw, I believe, on that 3rd down conversion. Mm-hmm. He fakes that crack, and the defense bites with the play action fake. Josh does a really good fake, turns out of it. Gabe's timing is perfect, and he releases, and he's wide open. He gets upfield. I believe that's the 26-yarder that he had.
It was.
Just really solid work from him. And as he starts to emerge in that piece, I like him getting more snaps, and I think it's no coincidence that we start to see him get more snaps because this offense is trying to figure out ways to get the running game more established and get the running game more involved. And they're not able to do it from a straight up execution standpoint because of what they have going on up front and to a degree in the backfield. So they have to get creative. They have to go with 6 offensive linemen, or they have to go with 21 personnel or 12 personnel, or throw a receiver in there like Gabriel Davis instead of Emmanuel Sanders. Let him crack down and do those blocks and then work that play action game and later. Very, very, very huge piece. So love to see him emerging. Beasley, I feel like he's still banged up. He's still ducking down. We saw another catch. It was like 1st and 10, and he ducked down right at 9 yards when he was about to get hit. He's still hurting. But
he made a sweet bobble catch, though, that came back out of his hand a couple times.
Nice one. But he ended up being 2nd on the team in targets with 5. Diggs was 1st with 9. So Diggs had 9 targets, 7 catches, 74 yards, and a touchy. Beasley, 5 targets, 5 catches, 46 yards, 9.2 per catch, kind of where we always see him live when he's healthy, being that chain mover and that guy in the middle. Aaron, you and I were talking about, I forget what the conversation was, but I said something about, the coincidence of the offense, being inefficient over the last several weeks and how that coincided with Beasley being banged up in a conversation we were having on Twitter. And I know you agree with that. I think that's no coincidence that with how teams are playing the Bills defensively and going more zone and going more too high, you have to be able to take advantage of the intermediate and the short and be able to open some things up. And Beasley is that guy. He is that option route middle killer because he's such a matchup nightmare. And if he's not healthy, that's a big thing. Mm-hmm. And seeing him get a little more traction tonight was nice. Dawson Knox, fantastic. And even Manny Sands, 3 targets, 3 catches, 28 yards, a solid team effort from the receiving and tight end grouping, highlighted by a concerted effort to get Stephon Diggs the ball more, and to have him get the ball more against Marshawn Lattimore and win is a big plus. Also, kudos to Dable. We saw it on the first drive. The Bills using motion and getting creative to get Diggs matched up on guys that weren't Marshawn Lattimore and allowing him to eat in those plus matchups. So just a really solid night from the weapons on the periphery.
Yeah, and tonight, my gut feels like the offense succeeded despite the offensive line. Obviously, we'll have to go back and watch Josh's 1 interception. Cody Ford gets shoveled back by Cam Jordan and hits his arm. Josh only got sacked twice, only hit 3 times. It's not, egregious.
It wasn't the Jaguars game.
Correct. I think it felt like it was more. than what it was. I don't think it was Deion Dawkins' best game. It still feels like he's not back to what we've seen previously. So, I'll go back to you, Ant. What were your thoughts on this O-line tonight? And, is it as simple as we just need everybody back healthy? And when we get back to Spencer Brown, and again, I know John Feliciano's not some huge upgrade, but at least cohesion and continuity back there, Darrell Williams back at guard, is it that least back to the average or slightly above average that we maybe have? Is that enough to settle everybody down?
I honestly think it is, especially with, to tie it to that running game. What the Bills are able to get now with the addition of Matt Breida and being able to get more perimeter runs. We're seeing more tosses. We're seeing more pitches. We're seeing more edge attacking style runs. And we're seeing more fold blocks and linemen out in space. And that's awesome for Mitch Morse. That's awesome for Spencer Brown when he comes back and gets healthy. Even Deion Dawkins is good at that. Even Darrell Williams, especially when he kicks inside, can move well. He doesn't move great for a tackle, but he moves above average for a guard. If we're going to, try and look at the silver lining there, I think when Spencer Brown comes back, we do see a upgrade in performance from the offensive line. He adds so much, especially with how the Bills are using Breida now and how they're able to attack defenses. And overall tonight, offensive line is always the big one that I really want to go back and watch the all-22 and see what happened. But, granted, the Saints are a bit deficient up front. They were missing guys. But, again, the Bills were missing guys. I thought they moved the piles well. Even when they got beat, Cody Ford getting, pushed it into the backfield, Greg, like you mentioned, by Cam Jordan. Cam Jordan's a stud. Like, they've still got good guys on that.
I was going to say they're missing guys, but they got some beef up there still.
1,000%. And they're well coached. So I thought it was a good performance in the running game, a good enough game in pass protection. Josh obviously helped him out a little bit. I thought he had some good pocket manipulation tonight and movement to gain some yards. I am worried about Deion Dawkins, though. And even if it's a COVID-related piece, it's still worrisome because at the end of the day, I don't care if it's because of COVID or because he suddenly is bad. I don't feel great at that left tackle spot. Granderson got him bad. Dawkins was almost like voluntarily giving up a soft edge, turning himself sideways, like losing the position battle, losing leverage. Granderson, I didn't even think had to work that hard to get him. And no disrespect to, Granderson, but I don't think we can.
He's a solid player.
Yeah,
right?
He's a solid player, but he's not somebody that it's like, all right, well, we have to scheme for Carl Granderson because he's just a terror off the edge, but a really solid game for him. That scares me a little bit. But on a positive note for Deion, I did like when Onyemata hit Josh and got in his face a little bit. I liked how the camera showed when Deion Dawkins was walking back to the huddle. He purposely gave him like a little shoulder check and like trash talked him a little bit and got in his face. So I thought that was nice, especially for the crowd that wants us to show emotion because we don't show emotion in our press conferences.
We're soft team.
But I am.
Media is also soft, doesn't ask the hard questions.
That is very true. Everyone's
soft.
Everyone's soft. It's terrible. It's extra Charmin to play out here. But I am worried about
that's
Dawkins.
it, right? 2021, 2022. Everybody's soft now.
That's exactly. It's just the world. It's a PC world and PG world. Yeah, and I'm a little worried about Doc, but solid enough game against a banged up front. Hope we get healthy and then roll in strong against New England, who has a solid front seven and will be coming after the Bills hard.
Aaron, any thoughts on the offensive line, or are you just waiting for the reinforcements to come?
Yeah, I mean, waiting for some reinforcements. I think I've obviously been very hard on John Feliciano, and I don't think he's much more than a average, below average lineman. But I guess what I'm wondering is, some of that pressure. We know we hear about continuity, and is playing next to Botker problem for guys like Morse and Dawkins, and is Feliciano coming in? Will that be better? Or is there more comfort in playing with them? We've heard people talk about Feliciano being part of calling those protections with Mitch Morse and helping Josh at the line. So maybe there's some as a vet that he offers with more reps with these guys that if you place him in, maybe that makes things better. But even, you said it really well a couple weeks ago, Greg. And this performance was probably bad for Deion when we look at it. But even with some regression for Deion this year, whether it's health related or what it is, he's still a pretty good offensive lineman into a regression. Like maybe he's not the franchise left tackle or playing like the franchise left tackle that we want him to be right now. But I've seen it out of him, so I know that he can get back there. And so I'm not totally concerned yet. I think he can get back there. He hasn't put together his best football of the year. So hopefully this trend starts to go in the other direction. He gets closer back to the guy we know he can play as.
I think that getting into the Western drive of the game here, I think that it's the offensive line was a big part of a couple of the options here, and it's fun. We finally have a scenario where there were choices. Yeah, so I won't even rattle through all the different options that there are. I'm going to go with the opener for the game, the 10-play, 65-yard to start the game. Right off the bat, some healthy run mix in there. That's what really excited me. We saw Matt Breida as a legit part of it, and I loved the touchdown to Knox and the way that they were able to use the run action to get that play fake and be able to get the touchdown out of it. Anthony, where was your head at?
Normally I like to give other drives just so we can like encompass everything, but I'm solidly on that first drive. Greg, I think your comment on the post game last week about the Bills being a front running type of team and how when they're not, they start to press.
I almost said it in the moment. I didn't want to jinx it just because of how bad I jinxed that Jacksonville game.
Yeah,
but
real bad.
when they opened up with 3 and out and then the touchdown drive, in my head I was like, "Oh, New Orleans is done. This game's over."
Boom. Yeah, it's a huge thing for the Bills. Like when they get down, Josh starts to press, and the team. It's a trickle down effect from the head being Josh, and the whole team presses. Hugely important for them. 1, to get out in front. 2, you hit on it. The way they got out in front, they mixed in the run, they mixed run action in on their pass. They got Josh involved, they got Breida involved, and this was a drive where we've said it the last couple of weeks, even when the Bills are like putting up numbers offensively, things look hard. It looks hard for them to move the ball up and down the field. This drive was not that. It was just boom, 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 touchdown in the blink of an eye. I thought that set the tone, gave everybody confidence, allowed them to kind of go, okay, we can do this. We're okay. And yeah, I can't say it enough. I thought that front running comment is tremendous. Like I think it's so helpful for the Bills to get out in front early and show positivity early in the game so that they get comfortable, they settle in, and things move forward from there.
Aaron, where were you at for your drive at the game?
Yeah, so actually, normally I also like to pick one just to be a little bit different, but I actually really was picking this even before we went into this show. I was going to pick the one right out of half because, you get that turnover. We're big double dip guys, Greg. People tag us when the double dip even pops up. You end up with the turnover, right? So you're not even getting 3 there, which I think they could have at least gotten 3. You're not getting the 3 there. And when he came out, Josh looked tight to me. Like he looked, but I think I read it wrong. I think he was actually super focused. Yeah. And he came out and really dealt. And I think it was big for the fans watching the game because I think after that interception, now you have 2 interceptions. It's only a 10-point game. You're letting this team kind of hang around. We've seen this before. We're letting a bad team hang out in this game. Everybody's feeling a little antsy. It's late. It's Thanksgiving. The turkey's really setting in. It doesn't feel good. But they really came out and put together a nice drive, and it ended in that Diggs touchdown that we were talking about earlier, which was a beautiful red zone play. And again, we talk about these concerns in the moment and in that recency bias. It was just a few weeks ago we were talking about how bad this team was in red zone efficiency, and those conversations are long gone really now. Obviously, Josh had the pick in the red zone, but really other than that, they've been very effective in the red zone since we were having those conversations. So I really like that drive. For me, that put the game away, right? When you're up by 3 possessions and the way the defense was playing, I could sit back. I could, take a little bit less notes and focus on what we were going to talk about in the show. It was nice to put the game away right out of the half like that for me. So that was why that one was my drive of the game.
No, I like it. And, as we pivot into the defense here, I think that tonight was really another kind of confirmation of what I had hoped was coming with this defensive line. This was a really dominant performance from Ed Oliver in that
that 5th-year option is going to look so good on him.
Oh, it's going to be so easy. Got a sack, multiple quarterback hits, tackle for loss, knock down a pass, constantly disruptive, constantly in there, just causing problems, wreaking havoc. We're going to need to see that the rest of the year. I think that the rest of the defensive line plays off of him. And, he is right now the most impactful piece that we have on that defensive line. Jerry's right there. Jerry is causing pressure and is coming around the edge, decently. Saw another flash from Mario Addison, 2 more tackles for loss plus a
nice
sack.
plays, yeah.
Playing really well in that limited rotational role. But I thought the defensive line played well tonight.
Rousseau had a nice day too.
Rousseau, a couple nice run stops, some really good plays, and I was impressed with the reps I saw. I'm excited to go back and watch Eli Ankow and Brandon Bryant. Both
it wasn't
good.
Vernon Butler-ish.
Yeah, like they were in there and not getting moved off the ball, using their size, stout at the point of attack. I'm excited to go back and watch them because I want to see, are they at least functional in what we can get from them? Mm-hmm. Can we at least make use of them in rotational roles as run-stuffing defensive tackles if needed? Anthony, what do you think of defensive line?
Really strong effort from the defensive line to echo the sentiments there from you. And this is what we've talked about this before. When the Bills defensive line has a good game, it's ironically been highlighted by Ed Oliver or Jerry Hughes, but it's a holistic performance across that defensive line. They showed that graphic with I think 9 minutes left in the fourth, and I wanted to take a picture of it so I could remember it, but I couldn't pause the TV here in the hotel room, so I was very upset. We saw Ed Oliver was leading the defensive line in snaps with 29, but no one had over 30. Everybody was there. It was like Ed with 29, and it was like 26, 24, 23, 22. We had a nice, healthy rotation going on that defensive line, which again is what the Bills want. They want to just rush forward. They want to be able to rotate guys. I thought the addition of Brandon Bryant and Elianku was fantastic for 2 reasons. One, I like the message that it sent to the team from a perspective of, listen, if you play like crap, we're not just going to keep rolling dudes out there. 2, I like the effectiveness because of the opportunity for the Saints to want to run gap runs against the Bills inside potentially and to have that fortification. But 3, it allowed F.A. Obata to kick out to the outside. He had a very strong preseason outside, and we've almost seen him used exclusively on the interior so far in the regular season. He had several really nice reps on the outside. He also had one where Micah Hyde blitzed off the edge, and Simeon tried to dump it down to Montgomery, but he couldn't because Obata was on the edge and got his hand up, and he forced a higher throw, and it got out of bounds. His length was a problem on the edge, and you guys hit it on the head. Jerry had a strong game. Addison had a strong game. Ed Oliver was a terror up front. The Bills were filling gaps better on the defensive line against the run all night. Strong holistic performance from the defensive line, and you honestly, I don't think you had a negative game from anybody up front. I'm excited to go back and watch the film to see just how effective they were.
Mm-hmm. I agree with everything you guys said. The only thing I will say is I do think this game should probably be graded on a curve. I think that this New Orleans offensive line is a bit in shambles, especially without the guys on the edges for them. Their interior offensive line has struggled all year, and then you have the guys on a tackle hurt. That's a real struggle for them. So granted, you still got to go out there and play and perform in those reps. And Ed Oliver's put this on tape aplenty. Mario Addison has put this on tape plenty. So it's not just they went up against bad guys and performed well. And you still have to do that. It doesn't matter. The guys line up across from you and you got to perform well. So good performance, but definitely not the best unit that they faced today. Probably a worse offensive line than the Bills have. And we're talking about what a problem that is.
Not Dolphins, Jets level. Because you still have Terran Armstead, you still have Cesar Ruiz, you still have Eric McCoy, legit starters, but missing some critical pieces that they need. They're just a totally different world with Ryan Ramczyk.
So let's jump into linebackers though, because what a treat to have at Tremaine Edmonds back. Tremendous treat to have Tremaine Edmonds back. I think we saw how much we missed his athleticism in that last game with Klein. And Klein's a nice luxury to have. Don't get me wrong. I think it is a nice luxury to have. And we even saw them go some of the bigger personnel, the Saints, to try to get the Bills out of nickel. And the Bills still didn't put Klein on the field in those situations and kept Terran on the field. And Tremaine's athleticism really allows them to do so much. Even on some of the plays that don't look like good plays for the Bills where they're giving up yards, his range just flashes all over the tape. It's really impressive to watch. And then Matt Milano's the same thing. He's right there with Ed Oliver in terms of just wrecking balls in this front seven. He destroys plays, and he doesn't always get the stat for a play, but him busting into gaps, destroying plays, good in coverage, solid tackler, like this unit they're similar to Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer in terms of they're not going to get the credit that they deserve for how well they play as a unit together. But I was impressed with them. We had 8 tackles, 5 solo for both of them in this game. Just a nice game. It's great to have Tremaine Edmonds back. He's going to be needed to beat the New England Patriots. So it's good for him to get a game back, get some reps in against the Saints and go and move forward. It didn't seem like that hamstring's any issue at all. I really worry about the soft tissues even when a guy comes back, but the way he was moving around the field tonight, I have no concerns about that hamstring right now. So happy to have him back. What'd you guys see out of the linebacking core tonight?
I was certainly happy with Tremaine Edmonds back. It shows how critical of a piece he is. Milano was steady as usual, and I think that's all you can ask for in a game like this, where obviously it would have been different having to have them focus on Kamara and what the weapon that he is out of the backfield. But that's
you'll get that the next game. You'll get some focus.
Yeah, they're going to have plenty of opportunity with Ramondre Stevenson, Damian Harris, and Brandon Bolden, and whoever else New England throws at us coming out of that backfield, and Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. So next week's going to be a huge linebacker test. Tonight, it was an easy take-home exam, and they passed it and did what they were supposed to do. I don't think we should praise them for dominating a limited skill group of Tony Jones and Ty Montgomery and Nick Vanette, but they did, and they dominated them and did what they're supposed to do. Yeah. Anthony, linebacker, or what do you think about these DBs?
Just hit the last couple points on linebackers. I think Tremaine Edmonds did things tonight that people always say he doesn't do. He came up and shot gaps and made plays at the line of scrimmage or in the backfield. And he also did things like meeting offensive linemen at the line of scrimmage, stacking them and shedding them. The first 2 plays of this game were run plays, gap runs directly at the Bills defense in the center, I believe. Very first play of the game, Edmonds comes up, stacks, sheds, dives over, gets a piece of Tony Jones, trips him up, 2nd and 7. Next play, run fits, same thing again, stuffed at the line. Edmonds, rangy, fantastic game from him. Matt Milano, same thing. But I just really to drive the point that Edmonds continues to improve on things this year that people said were deficiencies for him and why he couldn't be a guy that should be extended and why people said AJ Klein was better and so on and so forth. And his return, again, a nice little piece. If we play teams that want to go heavy in the future, having Edmonds and Milano crushing it and maybe throwing in some AJ Klein to go with 3 linebacker sets is a nice thing when it's headed by a really nice top 2 of Milano and Edmonds. And DBs, I don't want to start with I'm only going to say with Tre'Davious White, I am very worried. I think him going down is, if it's anything potentially serious or long-term, he's hugely important to this defense. Yeah. We'll see what happens. I don't think there needs to be anything, said from myself more than that. Levi had a strong game. I thought Dane had a good enough game coming in spot duty. I think him having a solid week of reps with the starting defense is much better than having him be put into a game in the middle of a game cold. And it's like, hey, go in there and play the entire rest of the game. But now with the performance we saw from Levi and the performance we saw from Dane, I thought you saw an uptick in the play from Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. They were all over the field today, around the line of scrimmage, both playing deep, blitzing, making tackles, being physical. Yeah, throw some likes in there. Appreciate you, William. Thank you so much. Pound it, as Greg is indicating right there. The flexibility and the versatility that Hyde and Poyer present this defense just continues to be a steady reason why this defense is able to function at the high level that it is. And if Trey misses time, it's very unfortunate and it's a huge blow, but it's nice to know the talent level and the leadership level that we have on the back end at the safety position to potentially help for the outside corners. And then Aaron's boy, his other boy on the defensive side from Levi Wallace, Taron Johnson, strong game, coming off the edge, making tackles, functioning again. He is going to be even more important if anything is going long-term with Trey. So solid performance all around from the secondary, minus the one drive that the Saints scored where there was some space there in the secondary. But then also even on that, Levi and Taron had a tremendous communication piece when the Saints tried to run that little game and run that little pick play for the 2-point conversion. And Taron and Levi snuffed it out right away. Little Jordan Humphrey, amazing name, should have retraced back like Sean Payton wanted him to, but nonetheless, Taron and Levi communicated right off the bat. They snuffed that out. Boom, done. Strong performance again from the secondary, which is what we anticipated and hoped for coming into this game, given the lack of strength on the outside weaponry for the Saints and a technically third string quarterback in Trevor Siemian.
I will say, piggybacking off that 2-point conversion, the touchdown given up, Levi bit the eyes of
Yes.
Trevor Siemian and came up and allowed somebody to get behind him. And that frustrated me to see him do that in that spot. A lot of pressure is going to be on Levi Wallace if something is indeed wrong with Trey and misses time here, because I've pounded the table that he's an adequate quarterback too. And I think he's having even above that right now, a season and above average starting cornerback too, but he's not a cornerback one in this league. And what's going to be interesting is I do think, Trey's great and he brings some individual dynamics to this defense that nobody else can replicate what he can do. But I do still believe that this team very much believes in the scheme. And I think that they can scheme them some things to protect Dane Jackson while still maintaining some protection with Levi Wallace, where they can confuse some guys. I know Mac Jones is a hot name right now, but I think they're going to be able to do enough of the I'll drop it for you disguised coverage looks to still confuse a number of quarterbacks and make up for some of the deficiencies that the cornerback position they have. If there's been one area of this team that Sean McDermott, Leslie Frazier, and the defensive back coaches have been able to get more out of less, it's this position. When you look at the history of Sean McDermott's cornerbacks here in Buffalo, it's really been a Trey White show, but he's gotten a lot out of guys that really otherwise have no business producing in the league. So I do have faith that they can do something. I'm very concerned about Dane Jackson. He got lucky on a couple of plays that Trevor Siemian missed on passes.
So
he
many
got
double moves. He wants every double move.
Yeah, he wants
Which also happened to him against the Jets as well. He went in for that one play and he got burned on that double move real bad.
A plus for him.
Jacksonville? Didn't Marvin Jones get him on one?
Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe it's the Jacksonville.
It was Jacksonville, yeah.
My fault, was Jacksonville.
Yeah, and the one thing I'll give him credit for, solid tackler, really good in run fit. So I do like that aspect of what he brings, especially with New England coming up. They are going to try to pound the ball. So if you have two cornerbacks that come up, good tacklers, run fits. But yeah, there's going to be a significant drop off. But I think they're going to be able to minimize some of it with a week or 11 days of game planning and game planning around knowing that they're going to have to go in with Dane Jackson. But it could get spotty at times. And I believe Poyer and Hyde, it's ridiculous that they're not leading the Pro Bowl race. I don't care about Pro Bowls personally, but they do.
Let's go right into the player spotlight here, because we should spotlight the crap out of them. Obviously, Hyde almost had a free touchdown on what was correctly called an incomplete pass. Poyer gets his 5th interception of the year, really hoping he rightfully gets the Pro Bowl and All-Pro credit that he deserves this year. And I thought they just showed the dominant control they can have over an offense, where they're able to just dictate to the offense where things are going to go, what they take away, and that's going to be the key here. Obviously we're waiting on news for Trey White. I think our best case scenario is, we know that he hurt his knee. We don't know the severity of that. So our best case scenario is we're going to have a brief time without him. Our worst case scenario is we would have a longer term stretch without him. So either way, we're talking about a short term period here with needing Dane Jackson and Levi Wallace to hold down the fort. That center 5 of Matt Milano, Tremaine Edmonds, Taron Johnson, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, the 5 of them holding it down from number to number is going to be the key, and being able to limit that. And I think you can survive that against a team like New England. It will be a problem in a game like Tampa Bay with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown. But teams like New England and teams like that, you might be able to, Carolina, maybe you might be able to get away with that, where the run defense and the center of the field will have the strength for it there. But obviously, until we know more, everyone in the comments talking about it, everybody on Twitter talking about it, we know the potential severity of what this injury is. We don't want to speculate because we don't know any more at this point, and we're certainly hoping that it's just less severity than what we've seen. But obviously, the MRI will show that as we go. I think in the moment here, the spotlight for me goes to Jordan Poyer, and that's where I would have it. Aaron, who was your player spotlight of the game?
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Poyer's, we said it with the midseason awards. He was my MVP of this team. I feel great about that pick.
Yeah,
I have no worries about making that pick, and I think he's continuing to play like that. I think he's absolutely an All-Pro this year. I'll be pissed if he doesn't get. I'm going to be really pissed if he doesn't make the Pro Bowl this year. This guy needs the recognition that he deserves, and it's not fair that he doesn't get recognition because Micah Hyde is also so good, and I think that's the only reason he doesn't get the individual. Either one of them get the individual recognition they deserve around the league is because they play so well as a tandem, and I think that needs to be recognized for both of them. So I'm going to be pounding the table over the next few weeks to get people to get out. I'm going to make graphics. I'm going to pound the table. These guys deserve it. They deserve All-Pro. I can't do anything about that, but I can rally the troops to get these guys in the Pro Bowl because it's ridiculous. They are what makes this defense go, and the defense has led the team this year.
Anthony, who was your spotlight?
This one was really hard, and for good reasons. Like, so many dudes played well. I'm going to circle back to Ed Oliver. Terror up front, continues to be a consistent model of pressure. Finally got a sack tonight, which was nice to see. And even
he actually showed up in the box.
He should have gotten a turkey leg.
Yeah, he deserved a turkey leg. Even his roughing the passer call, I was kind of cool with because I liked the little added physicality piece to it. Like, it was just that kind of night. But he continues to show week in and week out how dominant of a force he can be up front. And part of the reason why I wanted to spotlight him, so much talk. There was a lot of talk last week about his snap percentage and how much he played. And one of the things that was mentioned in the film room this past week was maybe the potential reason why he saw less snaps was because of how he was playing. He was getting so far upfield and so vertical on a lot of snaps that he was leaving wide open holes in the run game. And all Jack Doyle would have to do is be like, give him like a quick little poke and it would fling him out of position even more. And Taylor was gone through the hole. I thought Oliver did a good job today of mitigating that upfield craziness, but still getting penetration and being aggressive with his get-offs time and time again. Because it's not just how fast you can get in the backfield. Sometimes doing that, you create a vulnerability in the defense because you're not all moving together, and all of a sudden there's a gap in a lane where there isn't supposed to be a gap in a lane. And he was kind of controlled chaos tonight, which is what he needs to be. And time again, run game, whether they were running zone, whether they were running gap, he was strong at the point of attack. He wasn't getting pushed off. He was good with pass rush. Just, again, a terror on the interior, and he sets the tone for that D-line. Really, really strong. I mean, a lot of standout performances, but a really strong one for him.
I got a sidebar here for you guys because this is important to Greg. Greg's big on hair, likes it. Kind of jerk to me about hair sometimes, rubbing it in.
Greg's a jerk overall.
Catherine Fitzgerald, Buffalo News reporter, I believe, from the Buffalo News there, asked why Dawson Knox is having so much success this year. Sean McDermott says, I think it's the different hair products this year. Can you comment on that, Greg? As somebody that probably has a plethora of hair products in their bathroom.
I do have multiple different pomades and various accoutrements that you may need to use to be able to keep things looking as dapper as you need. And I can say that the versatility needed to be able to, show yourself in different areas. If you find the right thing that helps you, look right, you look good, you play good, you feel good.
All right, this has gone on long enough. Get back to the show.
We could do a whole.
I've only ever used pomade in Red Dead Redemption 2. I've never used it in real life.
I'm a Dapper Dan man.
Yeah.
So, obviously getting into special teams tonight as we get ready to close things out, it was a really solid game overall. The kickoff return coverage was fantastic.
Redemption for those guys.
They were using that like a weapon, pinning them at the 16, at the 18, at the 21 every single time, to the point where like the Saints guy was like begging not to return a kick, to just let it go. Stevenson, I thought, presented himself really well tonight overall. One snafu where I think that he was trying to be aggressive. He did not want to fair catch anything. He wanted to be aggressive and show he could return it. The one play that he should have fair caught it, Saran Neal was getting blocked into him. He initially muffed it. He picked it right up and ran with it. You should never allow the ball to touch the ground. You cannot have that. That is not excusable.
Catch it and fall.
Yeah, correct. That was him not wanting to fair catch. I kind of get that. That was, a tough spot to be in. overall, I thought acquitted himself well. 10 yards per return, 5 returns, all of them pretty positive. Tyler Bass money like he normally is. And I have crapped on Matt Hawk as much as any person in the Bills fandom. Tonight was by far his best game as a Buffalo Bill. All 3 punts were good. 2 of them were excellent. One was a legitimate angled coffin corner punt where the returner couldn't do anything. Another one had great hang time where he had to fair catch it inside the 10. Tonight, special teams was a net positive for me. Aaron, what did you think?
Yeah, no, I think there was redemption for the coverage units. I think a lot of people were concerned, when Isaiah McKenzie was a scratch, wanting McKenzie and Stevenson, because I think people just like the explosive playability of McKenzie and wanting that in the offense. So I
wouldn't have minded seeing Stevenson get a couple offensive touches on the jet
Sure.
sweeps. I don't want the jet sweeps to go away just because we scratched McKenzie.
No, definitely not. And but I don't know that. I don't think you can roster both those guys going into a game. There's too much similarity. There's not enough need for both those guys. But Kumro was a name that brought up like, well, why do you roster this guy? And I think he presented why you roster or put that guy on the active game day roster. He flies down the field, guys. We talk a lot about Sarah Neal and Tywan Jones and those kickoff coverage teams, but he's coming right up with those guys in terms of being able to fly down the field and make plays and that. So that was great to see. And yeah, Stevenson, can't put the ball on the ground, but overall not terrible. He's got to get a feel for the game. You can tell that this was his first NFL game. He didn't quite have an understanding of the game speed, I don't think yet. I think that's going to come here in a couple more weeks, and then we'll see his speed stand out when he gets a little bit more understanding of the speed of the NFL return.
Like to see his leg drive on the one. He kept fighting and pushing for the one. He actually almost broke through and almost kept going for more, but on that 18-yarder looked tough.
But I think his speed is real, and I think it will show up as the game slows down for him a little bit. But I mean, to come in, to have that type of injury, not get any playing time, and come in and handle those duties, and the way he did it, hats off to him. That's a tough job to come into the NFL and just get thrown right in mid-season. So hopefully the game slows down for him a little bit, and we can see his speed really flash, because I think he does have some big playability, just like McKenzie.
Yeah, he definitely has that big playability. And what's interesting, one other piece to note for that, so many people in the offseason were like, Stevenson for returner overall. He has barely any punt return experience in college. He was really good as a kick returner, but no real punt return experience.
It's a different job.
Yes.
Yeah, he's just learned to do that since he got drafted.
Correct. So he just learned it this offseason. This is legitimately his first real game experience, and it's in the NFL of returning punts. And Aaron, as you mentioned, those are two completely different things. The trajectory of the ball, the way it's kicked, the way you catch it, the way your blocks are set up, the rules, you're supposed to return it, the rules, the time you have to catch it and make a decision, the way defenders are bearing down on you. Those two things are completely different. I know people think return game is return game. Not so much at all. So I'm interested to see what his ceiling is in that regard. But I think a good enough first start, some encouraging things. You guys mentioned the one snafu that you hope he cleans up, but encouraging overall performance from him. Somebody mentioned it in the comments. It's too far to go back because we're having so many comments tonight, which is fantastic.
Yeah, appreciate all you guys.
Yeah, everybody's been crushing it. Saran Neal on the fake punt, doing his job and providing some lockdown ability up there. That was really nice. And, everything else you guys mentioned was spot on. This was a special teams performance we've come to expect from a Sean McDermott-led Bills team. Quality in all 3 phases, no mistakes, no nonsense, no foolishness, solid play, potential game-changing in terms of field position-making plays, really standout performance.
Yeah.
The final point for tonight is on coaching. I thought that the coaching was solid. We did have 1 4th down conversion. They went for it. I didn't love the one where there were 2 different ones. One where they were kind of close, ended up punting. It turned out great. They had immediate quick 3 and out, got the ball back. That was Stevenson's 18-yard return. Immediately scored the touchdown, put the game out of reach. His faith was proven. In general, I would have liked to have gone for it on that 4th and 2. They went for it on the 1. I didn't love Josh's decision on the 3rd and inches pass to go to Diggs. It was one-on-one coverage. He had just beaten Lattimore, but Lattimore's good. You have higher efficiency, higher likelihood plays in that scenario. I liked the overall game plan because of the messages that were sent. I liked that he benched 3 starters, brought in other guys who were hungry and playing well. All 3 guys made him look pretty good. Eli Ankou looked good. I thought Stevenson looked good. I thought Matt Breida looked good. It really reinforced that message being sent and that you needed a spark in those areas. So I thought the coaching was solid, even if there were a couple areas in other games I would have liked them to be a little bit more aggressive when you're going up against this kind of impotent offense where you know they're not going to really threaten you that much. I thought it was okay that they played a little bit more conservative. I would like to see him going forward in those 2 spots. But overall, I like the coaching. Aaron, what did you think?
Yeah, I don't have beef with the punting decision, especially like you said, because of the game and the situation that it was in. And also, I think I forget who put the stat out, and I wish I remembered now. It talked about scoring drives and how often offenses score and where the position that they are in the field position that they're scoring from. And like the average drive is only like 30, the scoring drive is only like 30, 40 yards. Like, so they come off turnovers or big plays and things like that. Like offenses typically aren't putting together 75, 80 yard long sustained drives consistently against defenses in the league. So I think punting gets a really bad rap. I'm not in favor of punting. You're still turning the ball over and you're getting rid of it. But there are times where it is the thing that makes the most sense because when your defense is playing well, you trust them that, hey, this team's not going to put down an 80-yard drive on us and we're going to get the ball back and have another opportunity to score. So no need to give them good field position now.
Last year's offense was clicking on all cylinders, and they were 8 of 10 on 4th down. This year, we're struggling in some areas. We're 3 of 10 on 4th down.
Defense is
That's
playing
a
well.
thing. Like it's okay that McDermott's taking that into account, and we can't just say no. We're going to convert every single time. Well, sometimes we don't. That's a turnover.
Yeah, and you're giving them a free 30, 40-yard head start on a drive. And when we look at the statistics of how these teams are driving down the field, that matters. That 30, 40 yards makes a huge difference. You don't know if your defense is going to go take the ball away or go on a 3 and out, and then you're winning the field position battle, and you end up netting 20 yards or whatever it is. Like punts get a bad rap, and I don't love punting, but they don't deserve the bad rap that they get all the time.
Yeah, 1,000%. And for me, it was just the whole adjustment piece. The way they attacked the Saints defense, replicating what Philly did last week, the way they schemed Stephon Diggs open and got him
nice day for Dable.
1,000%. Really nice response from him, and really nice response from Frazier, again, getting the defense to play more gap sound and gapping out at times and being responsible. Again, the return of Tremaine Edmonds helps a lot, but they just had a lot of answers for, again, we know a Saints team that was banged up, down to their 3rd string quarterback. So this isn't like, oh my God, the Bills are the best defense in the history of football. But this is what they should have done against a team with the injuries that the Saints had, with the quarterback play the Saints had. I believe at one point too, I think the Saints were 0 for 9 on 3rd down at one point. Like the Bills just had an answer for anything the Saints tried. The Saints ended up finishing 5 of 14 on 3rd down. They just were able to counter and adjust and course correct what happened last week, not allow it to happen again against a subpar opponent in certain areas and certain metrics. They executed the way they should have. They responded the way they should have. They adjusted, they executed, they adjusted, they executed some more. Huge response from them. And then, the roster points you guys mentioned and we spoke about earlier. I thought that was huge coming into this game and making certain players inactive on both sides of the ball, in addition to what's been said throughout the rest of the week, was a clear message of, we talked about on the post game last week, this whole talk of like, it's not good enough and we're upset and we're going to be better and like all that stuff. And it was just kind of like, okay, like you say that and we don't really buy it anymore. And when you couple that with like continuing to churn the same roster.
Yeah. 3 starters who are getting paid are going to get benched. Yep. That shows there's reinforcement to it. It's actual accountability.
Yeah. And that could have gone the other way. I think that talks about the overall locker room and what they have in this team. Like when you bench guys, and we saw Isaiah McKenzie was a little bit vocal on Twitter, which I don't love him, talking about
I guess Sean McDermott doesn't love that either.
No, I don't love that at all, to be honest with you. I got a big beef. My beef with Isaiah McKenzie increased with him talking about, oh, well, I'm so good. I'm one of the returners. You're going to see, like, okay, like pump the brakes, buddy. Chill out. But that could have been something, he is a guy that's liked in the locker room. He's a well-liked guy. And so I'm sure Zach Moss is too. And you see, this type of movement mid-season like that could derail a team. And this team didn't miss a beat. They came out, they played with passion. They played, with their hair on fire all throughout the roster. So that was good for me to see that he still has control of this locker room and it has the ability to make decisions like that. And it doesn't impact the team moving forward.
Yeah, obviously McKenzie was bragging about what a good returner he was. Stevenson had a better average than him tonight in return average than what he had on the year. Funny how that works.
It's also, can we like for one more time for another episode, can we continue to say two things can be true? Isaiah McKenzie can be electric when he gets the ball in his hands, and he can also be questionable in his decision-making and ball security. That's not a knock. That's not nitpicking and going after a guy.
We're not oblivious to his talent. We're not oblivious.
And he wasn't benched
to the fact
for
that he can
a
do those
single
things.
play.
Correct. He was benched for the culmination of multiple bad decisions
for the last
putting the ball at risk.
Yeah,
for his career.
And he's a grown man who's about to turn 27, his 5th year in the league. He kind of is what he is. He's not some like rookie guy who just is coming out here. This is what he is.
He's not Marcus Stevenson, who's a rookie with limited experience in a certain facet that you're like, well, we'll see what he can be.
Yeah. So, final thoughts for tonight. Aaron, what are your final thoughts here? Obviously, we talked about this Wednesday night. The goal was to get a win, get out of this healthy, move on.
Yeah.
We didn't get that second part here. We're still waiting on that. Hopefully, I don't think I saw any other injury reports other than Trey. So hopefully, we're waiting on the best there. But we got a very important win, reassured some confidence. What are your final takeaways?
Yeah, I saw a tweet out there about Sean McDermott's press conference saying, we don't know anything about Trey, but, we're going to pray. And I don't love the way that sounded to me. I don't like it. So don't love that. But my only thoughts are that I'm exhausted. This is like 2.5 hours past my bedtime. I'm glad the Bills won. Greg, we talked about it. Didn't even need to be pretty. This wasn't a must win mathematically for this team. So it's extra. You got a little bit of extra house money here heading into New England. And they did it in a dominant fashion. Yeah, 31-6 is a dominant game, and they went on the road to an uncommon opponent. Granted, they had injuries, but you still came out and you dominated. You got your work done, and now you got an 11-day break to get ready for the
mini bye.
Mini bye, and it's the biggest game of the year, and it is a must win. So, big time stuff.
Pats game at home, must win. Can't wait for that preview.
It's going to be a long 11 days getting ready for this game, but I'm ready for it. I'm ready to get ready for that.
Anthony, what are your final takeaways?
The second half for the Buffalo Bills, they scored 21 points coming into a game where on the year they have had a second half DVOA offensively of being ranked 17th in the league. And the Saints defense, second half DVOA, is 4th in the league. This is a quality unit. Even though they're banged up, they're well coached. They still got horses. They got dogs on defense. The Bills came out and put 21 up on them, including back-to-back TD drives to start the second half right out of the gate. Solid answer, all in the theme of adjustments. If Trey is out, I think this is another opportunity for the team as a whole to continue to show what they can be collectively as a coaching staff and an on-field entity. It sucks that potentially having a big injury coming up in a Patriots game against a team that knows how to pinpoint a weakness. And if you've got a guy that's a weakness, they're just going to attack and figure out what they're going to do. That sucks, but it's an opportunity for Frazier and McDermott to course correct for the defense and see what they can do and circle the wagons, no pun intended, and go and attack, and for other guys to continue to step up and play at a high level. So I'm not even trying to shoot for a silver lining. I'm interested and excited to potentially see what the defense looks like without Trey, because this is an awesome indicator of what this team could be. I sent a tweet out earlier this week. I hate recalling tweets of mine because I feel like that's super pretentious and douchey. But like a measure of a good team is what they do when things aren't easy. It's easy to come out and piss pound a bad team and win, but you don't know how good your players are and how good your coaching staff is until you face adversity. How do you do in games where you're not supposed to win, when the odds are stacked against you, when you're in a bad matchup? How do you respond? How do you perform? We said it last week on the post game. This game against the Saints and the next game against the Pats, we're going to find out who this Buffalo Bills team is. We found out a little bit today. We're going to find out even more against New England. An awesome opportunity for the team to really prove themselves, continue to rally. And it's nice that we started to get a little bit of effectiveness in the run game heading into a game against New England, again, against a coach like Belichick, who is famous for taking away your best thing and then trying to make you beat him with something else. it's nice to see that the Bills have been able to pivot just a little bit and add some variability to that offense heading into, like you guys mentioned, a hugely important game, especially if the Pats beat Tennessee this week. That could kind of help the Bills in the number 1 seed race, but then it makes the AFC East race that much tighter.
I don't care about the number 1 seed right now.
Yeah, it's all Pats.
Bury the
engines
Pats
forward. Yeah, I want to see them. I want to see the foot on the throat, nails in the coffin, blood and guts. We need it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll get into that. Rooting interest, mathematically, it's better for the Bills to root for the Patriots to beat the Titans. I'm not going to be doing that. You can't tell me.
You can't.
I'm not going to be doing that. I root for the Patriots to lose every single time they're on the field. I will be doing that on Sunday. I understand anyone who's going to follow the math. I understand that. By all means, good luck with that. I'm going to root for them to get destroyed. The Bills have now set themselves up to right the ship. They have given themselves a chance to get this win, take a deep breath, get healthy, get Spencer Brown back, get Star Lotulelei back, get John Feliciano back, get back into a position where you are able to refocus, get healthy. You have an 11-day break. You get yourself a little mini bye. Get ready for a critical game for the division on the line at home, Monday Night Football, all the focus and everything there. This is what you want. You set yourself up to be able to do this. The Bills are now going to be in position to be able to go on that run. They now have Patriots, Buccaneers, Panthers, right back to the Patriots, then Falcons and Jets. 4 tough games. You got to be able to be ready for this. This is just like what you're going to see in the playoffs. If you're ready to go on a run in the playoffs, you need to be able to go on a run now. Get yourself right. Prove that was just a momentary sidetrack, bad matchup, missing the wrong people in games that got out of hand. You're ready now. You're ready to get focused. You're going to go on a run. Show us that you're ready to do that. So thank you guys tonight. The chat was awesome. You guys are fantastic. Thank you to our sponsors, Underdog Fantasy. Download the app. Use promo code COVER1. Get yourself some free money to play around there. If your fantasy season is not going well, you want to be able to use that to do some new drafts, win yourself some money, make up for maybe some of the teams that aren't going that hot. Check out our friends over at Uncle Jumbo's. Awesome stuff coming there. Their Niagara Frontier whiskey bourbon is about to be debuted. I can't wait to try it myself. If you're in the market for an automobile, check out the guys over at West Her. They're going to do a fantastic job. Take great care of you. On behalf of Anthony Prohaska and Aaron Quinn, I'm Greg Tompsett. You've been listening to Cover One Buffalo, and we are out.